In the intro song you did for Welcome to the Family on the Reflection Music Group album you did a few years ago, you say that you're not the average Christian rapper. What do you think makes you stand out from other rappers in the genre?
Um, I'm not afraid to be different. I'm not afraid to, and I know everybody says different, right? Um, I'm not afraid to do what somebody else is afraid to do. So, let's say, some rappers are like, "Yo, man, that song is too pop for me." I'm not afraid to do a pop song, but it may be like, "Yo, that song is too suburban for me." I'm not afraid to do a suburban song. But it may be like, "Yo, that joint is not really me." I'm not afraid to do what is not really me. I still stay within my brand, but part of my brand is doing what you don't expect me to do. It's doing what's not expected, and at the same time, um, I know a lot of artists they feed off of talking about what they used to. It's like, "Yo, we used to stay in the back and the do da da da. We used to do that, and I'm like, I could sit up and talk about that all the time, but that could help people, but that's not just me. I want to talk about what I'm doing now. I feel like that's a little bit more relevant what I'm doing now, how I fight to change the world now, rather than living in my old years. So that's another thing. One last thing is, man, I want to be the most authentic, vulnerable rapper that will change the world. I realize that people feed off of individuals who are vulnerable, who are authentic, who live lives with integrity. Their life is like an open book, literally, and I want to be that. If somebody had a question and they needed help, I want to be that guy to break down the walls of vulnerability and be open enough to help them. There are times where I've given out my business phone number or even my personal email, to a fan because he was really struggling, and I would literally take time and talk with him, like outside of the show. There was one guy I was talking with having relationship issues. He's like, "I broke up with my girlfriend and it's really hitting me hard, and now I'm dealing with depression. I ain't thinking about suicide, but I'm thinking about just like, I don't know. It's not. I'm not thinking clearly. I don't know what to do." And I know us rappers get a lot of those emails, and we don't really respond to them. But I actually respond to them. Like, I sit there and have a conversation. I literally have threads of conversations with fans, like walking with them through issues. And I don't want to be the average rapper that you just hear me like, "Oh, yo, he's a dope rapper," but I want to be a rapper that you can connect with outside of music as well, which is why we're doing this interview.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, man.
All right, cool. And speaking of just, talking about what you're doing now, you recently released a song called The Warm Up. How good did it feel for you to get back in the studio and just have fun with a song like that?
Man, it was great. It was great. I got a chance to just have some fun after a hard, long season of just like trying to fight for your life. You want to look at the bright side of things. You want to get with your friends again at some point. You want to be able to enjoy life again, and that's what I fought to do. And I did that in the studio. I was like, "Man, I'm gonna rap. I'm fun with this. I'm gonna have some fun producing this. And whatever comes out, it's just me warming up to wherever I'm getting to. Like, I don't want people to think that just because I'm putting out music again, I'm fully back where I used to be. Because one, I'm completely different than where I used to be, mentally even. But two, there's still a lot of things that I'm dealing with. There's still a lot of things mentally that I'm dealing with that I have to pray and fight for every day. But I'm warming up. I'm warming up back to where I think I want to be or where I should be. I'm warming up to where I feel like God is going to place me, and that's what I'm doing. That's where I'm at, and that's literally how that feeling was. It was just like, man, I'm coming back to something. I don't know yet, but I'm coming back to something, or I'm creating something new. It was one or the other, but it felt great.
And recently, in an interview you did with Rapzilla, you said that you had actually been breaking down in the studio because what you've been writing is so personal and emotional. You even left sound clips of that in the next song you're gonna release. Can you just elaborate more on what goes through your mind when you're in the studio and you're making these new songs?
Yeah. Uh, so just to elaborate what I meant by all that. Man, it's been difficult, bro. Cause as I've been in the studio, it's like I shouldn't be here. I should be dead. I shouldn't be looking at this computer screen. I shouldn't be talking to you. Like I should be dead. My wife should be a widow. All kinds of things. And just to think through that God has given me the grace to actually be here and have another chance at life. That gets really emotional in the studio. Especially like, I mean, anybody could talk about, what's their favorite Bible verse. Anybody can go in the studio and talk about, yeah, man, 116, I'm gonna say the gospel, turn up Jesus, yeah, all that. Anybody can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? Anybody can do that, but not everybody can go in the studio and like say with their lyrics that already comes from their hearts. And I don't belong here. I should be dead, but I'm grateful that I'm still breathing. I'm grateful that I can still talk. My wife, she can see me and talk to me and hold me if she needed to. Not everybody can say that, Mm-hmm. Like I said, anybody can come up with the most cheesiest, corny lines to put in their rhymes, but not everybody can really spit the things that they're dealing with right there and then. And let it be what it is. So as I'm writing these lyrics, I can only write where I'm at. That's what we do. We talk about what we're dealing with, what we're going through, what we see. And to talk about it is emotional because I'm talking about something that I've never dealt with before. Talking about something that other people may not understand, and something that's very personal. And whenever you continue to dwell on things that's very personal, the fact that you could have lost your life and God is giving you another chance to live and other people being affected by it and being hurt by it, it gets very emotional in the studio. Music only gets emotional when you mean it. Mm-hmm. So all of my music, I've meant it. Every word that I've said, I've meant it. And yeah, it gets as real as it gets when I'm recording in that studio. So yeah, it's been very emotional.
And you mentioned your wife just a few weeks ago. You celebrated your 1-year anniversary, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How has married life been treating you? I know you came out with a song "Relations" on your Mad Haven album, kind of talking about where you were at with relationships. Has your view on relationships changed at all since your marriage, or is it kind of the same mindset you had back then?
Yeah. Much hasn't changed. Cause in that song "Relations," I was reenacting multiple conversations that I had with people like BJ and Lecrae and AT, and just a lot of guys that I call him my Uncle Nate, even DJ Fish, just having conversations with so many guys to talk to me about relationships while being on the road, and a lot of them gave me some hard, stern truth, the truth that I can't run away from even if I try. And a lot of what they were saying prepared me for marriage. So without it, I'd be in big trouble. It helped. It helped a lot. So when I wrote Relations, it was just me reenacting just that peer, not peer, but that student mentor conversation on relationships. Like, hey, be ready for this. If you're fighting and get married, like, just know this is a different kind of fight you've never fought before. And lo and behold, like a lot of that was true. And so as I've been married, a lot of those small reminders, a lot of those small conversations, even harsh conversations, just harsh truth and harsh realities, they helped me in my marriage. So being able to celebrate a year, it's been beautiful. It's been a good year. It's definitely been difficult. It's definitely been hard. But I can't say we've definitely fought good in our marriage. And we've definitely fought for health in our marriage, and we've been on the up. So.
Good. A couple of weeks ago, I had the chance to talk to your label mate Tony Tillman, and he talked about his favorite collaboration with you was when you hopped on his Camden album, his most recent album. He said it was just really important to him because that was the first time you had been back and put a song out there since the accident. What was it? And he also talked about how you kind of struggled with confidence going into that take. What was your mindset in terms of your confidence when you got back into the studio for the first time?
Because I hadn't rapped in so long, or it felt like a long time, because I hadn't written lyrics in a while.
Mm.
I felt like I was kind of worried, like, am I going to be as good as I was on my last project? Am I going to be as creative? And I remember I get to a point where just like, man, I'm just going to rap whatever's on my heart. And I don't know if it's going to be encouraging. I don't know if it's going to be the next best thing. I don't know if people going to like it. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm going to write and I'm going to be honest. And I'm going to just put my heart on the track. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And that was probably that writing that verse, that's when I cried the most, because that was the first time I actually pressed record since the accident. That was the first time I pressed record and like heard my voice again on a record. That was the first time from that accident that I actually tried to record and rap again. And it's like it almost feels like a like somebody who had done something for such a long time, and then God takes it away from them for a little bit, and then they get the grace to come back to it, and it's like refreshing. I was able to communicate what had been on my heart. I was able to communicate what I had been dealing with mentally, and just physically, and like that for me, that was like the wake up of, all right, I'm back in the studio, and I'm back being able to be vulnerable and confident again. But confidence was broken a little bit. But I built that back up over time. So.
In your song My City off of your Mad Haven album, you talk about growing up in Chicago. How did Chicago influence you both as a person and as an artist?
Oh, man. Well, growing up in Chicago, my youth pastor was Phil Jackson, had a youth pastor. And Phil influenced me a ton. He allowed me to be who I wanted to be. If I could ever thank anybody for embracing me how I was, who encouraged me to be as crazy as I am or as loud as I am, it was my youth pastor, Phil. He was like, yo, God accepts you for who you are. Like, don't try to fix yourself to come to him. He loves you as you are. Like, of course, God will change you to make you more like him. The Lord loves you for who you are. And that's something Phil Jackson taught me while I was in Chicago. And that allowed me to be whoever I wanted to be and how I felt I would be in music as an artist. Chicago always influenced me, man, with my rap style. You always have the Midwest flow, the rapping fast, the twisting, all that stuff. That has always been an influence. Listening to people like Twista, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Crucial Conflict, Speed Not Mobsters, or even Tech Nine, like KCMO, all of that. Like, just growing up listening to Chicago music, it helped like mold my style of music. And of course, I had different influences, but Chicago in particular did that for me. So.
All right, and you just finished touring with Derek Minor on the Empire Tour. How was that getting out there and going on the road with Derek again?
Man, first of all, as an artist with his name on the bill, that was probably one of my best tours that I've ever had. And dealing with Derek like on the tour, that was probably like one of the most fun times that I've had with my label mates, man. It was great. It was amazing. It felt good to be with my label mates again. Just to be out there and to rock the stage with my brothers, man. There's nothing else that feels as good as being on stage with your brothers. And that encouraged me a lot. That built a lot more confidence in who I was as an artist. And yeah, man, it was great. It was great.
Speaking of Derek Minor, he found Reflection Music Group. How did he discover you and your music?
Um, we were in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. I moved to Memphis, Tennessee from Chicago because I was going to school. And Derek, he moved to Memphis, Tennessee because I believe his wife had to relocate because of work. I think she had to transfer to another, location or something like that. But I met Derek when we were in our Bible study, our men's group. I didn't know he did music. He didn't know I did music. I was just kind of starting out music-wise. Well, I take that back. I had been doing music since I was like 11, but he had been doing music more professionally since I don't know how long. So, he had albums out. I ain't have an album out yet. Well, not officially. I ain't have an official album out, but he did. And but I never heard of his music, and found out he did music, and he found out I did music, and he realized he liked something in me that he saw, and I was like, man, I loved the grind that he had, the fight, the motivation, the everything, you name it, the creativity he had, and I was like, yo, you're a beast. I didn't know you did all this, and so yeah, we just clicked, and we ended up in the studio time after time. We stayed doing our men's group. We would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. For us, it was more than just music. Music came on the back end. We just really just wanted to grow as men. We really just wanted to be discipled and teach and lead and shepherd and all that stuff. So that music came on the back end, and as we built organically, music came along, and we began to do music together. So
cool. You also spent some time touring with Lecrae. What was that experience like? What did you learn from that time that you spent with him?
Oh, that was the worst. Oh my God, it sucked. That was probably the worst time I've ever had. Yeah, man. I love Craig, but that was the worst in my life, bro. That was probably the worst. Yeah, for so many reasons. He's a great guy, but I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was great, man. It was probably one of the best mentoring seasons I've ever had in my life. Just touring with Craig, man, I was able to see him as a great man who led the stage as a leader. He led as a husband, he led as an artist, he led as a businessman, a co-owner of a business. He showed me how it looked like to be a good husband, all kinds of stuff. I lived with him for almost 2 years almost, and he showed me how to steward all those platforms well, and mainly because he did that well. I saw his good and I saw his bad, and I learned from both sides. I really appreciated the time that he took to really just mold me as a man. One thing I really appreciate more about Craig, I love him as a person more than I love his music. I love Craig as a brother more than I love his music, because I'm not a fan of Craig as an artist. I'm a fan of Craig as an individual, because of what he's done so much more behind the scenes than he's done in his music. It's unbelievable. So, and I've seen both sides, but I was more impact. There was more impact in my life by what he did outside of music for me. Of course, he did great things, as an artist, but man, it doesn't even count in numbers, or you can't count in CD sales what he did for me in my life as a man. So, yeah, I did, Craig know I love him.
Yeah. And recently, Rapzilla has posted two articles called Christian HipHop versus Lecrae and Reach Records, kind of talking about how some people have kind of been almost turning on him and saying they're not Christian enough, or even some people are saying that they're not even Christian at all. Does that get on your nerves at all, considering you know him personally and how good of a person he actually is?
I'm gonna put it like this, all right? I know Craig. I can't speak for Craig, but I know Craig. Craig don't care. He don't care, and neither do I. Nobody who we don't care. All that stuff people talking about, we do not care. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows us like that.
Mm-hmm.
Only people who knows us are people who kick it with us on a day-to-day. And that's our families, our close friends. I put it like this. If there was a real issue in what people were doing with their music or with their business, if there was a legit issue of people's walks and their character, their church would hear about it first because their elders would have approached them about it first. Not some old magazine, blog, or whatever. Like, if there was a legit issue, then there would be red flags from these pastors that shepherd these individuals. Not from some, we don't care. We don't care. Like, I mean, just to be real, like, and again, like, it would make me mad. Like maybe years ago, I would have been frustrated because I'm like, yo, y'all don't know him like I know him. He's not what y'all think he is. But now I'm just like, man, I know Cray don't care because Cray knows who he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, the people that have invested time in the Cray and at the same time that the people that Cray has invested time into, like, everybody know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, first of all, if you're sitting there looking at the About section of Reach Records website, waiting for it to change, you have no life. All right, you need to get out and do something with your life. Okay, like, businesses are always expanding. Businesses are always evolving. Not in the sense of, I feel like when people like think of evolve or evolution, they think of there is no God and we came out from monkeys and we ended up being human beings from monkeys. Evolution ain't always bad. Evolve just means you went from one thing to another. It just means growth. That's all it is. And the thing is, like, Reach Records is just growing. I'm not on Reach, but those are my brothers. And one thing I know about Reach is they're always growing in business. They're always fighting to do business well. One thing I can appreciate that Reach does that other Christian labels don't actually do well is business. Other labels and other ministries, they may do ministry well, but I know one thing a lot of ministries don't do well is business. And what I can appreciate is Reach does business well. So when you see them changing certain things about their business, because business is what they do, ministry is what they do as well, but you'll see them do ministry outside of the music. That's why you don't really hear about a whole lot of people saying stuff unless it's outside of music. If you ever hear me talking about Cray's ministry towards brothers to another brother or him discipling individuals, you're not finna hear me say that all about all that in my songs, or you're not finna hear me write a blog about all that, because that's personal. That's personal. You're gonna hear more about Reach Records and their business more than you hear about their ministry, because their ministry is a lot of their ministry. A bulk of it is, you can't write about that. It's done outside of music, unless you stalking us. But unless you stalking us, you're not really gonna catch everything we're doing in ministry. So all that's to say, man, we don't care. They can write all they want. They can say what they want, but we don't care. The Lord knows what we're doing. The Lord knows what Reach is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we don't have to say it in a rap to make it evident. You'll see the change in people's lives, like, for that to be evident. So, you know, our credit is good. So we good.
In Christian hip hop, you're generally known as one of the more faster rappers in the genre. Do you feel like having that reputation can almost stop listeners from paying attention to what you're saying and more just kind of admiring the speed that you do? Does that ever cross your mind?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, man, I hate that title. I hate that title. I only rap fast because it's creative. I like it myself and people like it. But, you know, I don't want to be pigeonholed to that. So that's why I'm like, it's funny because when I do stuff on record, like, if I put out an album, if you listen to every album or listen to most of my songs, I'm not rapping fast on every song. Like, I didn't rap fast when I did Trippin'. I really didn't rap fast when I did Motivation. Like, I didn't rap fast when I did like Common Sense. A ton of songs. Like, I did not rap fast on, but people always gravitate to the ones I'm rapping fast to. So, I mean, you can't help what people gonna like, you know, and so be it. So, but to answer your question, you know, that sometimes that could be a fear that people actually listen more towards they'll listen for the creativity of the song rather than the actual lyrics. My hope is that's fine as long as they can actually hear the lyrics in the creativity. I don't want it to just sound like a bunch of mumbling and they just be like, oh, that's dope. I hope they can hear what I'm saying. And if they can't, then I'm just gonna have to slow it down and speak more clearly. But yeah, man. I mean, if people like it, if they like it, I love it. But I don't want to be pigeonholed to just doing that because there's so much more that I could do, and there's so much more that I will do with this new music. So, yeah.
And how do you feel about the Christian hip hop label? I know some artists have a problem with that, some others don't. Do you care if that's what people label you?
I've been thinking about labels lately. It's funny you bring that up. All right, I'm gonna put it like this. Whatever makes you feel good. Because ain't nobody gonna be happy. Ain't nobody gonna be satisfied. Some Christians ain't gonna be satisfied till you put Jesus in everything. Some Christians ain't gonna be satisfied till Christians ain't gonna be satisfied till you do what they want you to do on their agenda. And I'm just like, man, I ain't on everybody's agenda. So that goes with everything. That goes without saying. I feel like this: if you are a Christian and you rap, and you want to call yourself a Christian rapper, call yourself a Christian rapper. But don't condemn somebody for not taking on the same thing. If you like blue socks and I like red socks, don't hate me for liking red socks. All right, I like red socks. Okay, they don't keep my feet any warmer. I like red socks. But same thing. You like the term Christian rapper versus somebody saying, man, I'm just a rapper, but I'm Christian. It don't make you more Christian by saying I'm a Christian rapper. That's just your preference. It don't make you more righteous. It don't make people say, ooh, he loves Jesus more. It's your preference. It don't change nothing. And I'm be honest, like sometimes putting Christian rap, sometimes people who don't listen to Christian rap, that can deter them from wanting to listen because they think it's only for Christians. Like if somebody was like, yo, this is Muslim hip hop, then I'm gonna think, well, it's not for me because I'm a Christian. I don't listen to Muslim music. I don't even read the Quran. So what the heck I'm gonna sit down and listen to a bunch of Muslim music for? Like, it's gonna deter me from trying to listen to it. So sometimes putting Christianity in your music, like as far as titles, sometimes it can deter people from wanting to listen. Like, I mean, consider the Bible. People walk away from the Bible because they know it talks about Christianity. And I'm not saying change the term Bible on the Bible. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying sometimes titles that we put up or we create for ourselves, sometimes it's not that good for us. It don't always work in our benefit. If you're really trying to change the world, then sometimes you have to be strategic and tactic on how you come about things. And not everybody's going to be excited when they hear the word Christian. Yeah, I know the Bible says, no, they're not going to be excited about you being a Christian. They persecuted Jesus. How much more they going to persecute you? But at the end of the day, it all depends on what you're trying to strive for. If you're really trying to reach people, then you have to reach people the best way you know how to reach people. If your heart is in more of reaching people than it is in your title, then you'll know what to do when time is necessary. You know what I'm saying? I'm not finna be calling myself Canon the Christian Demon Slayer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that junk is corny to the mug. I ain't finna be doing that. But I done seen stuff like that before. And if I was a regular person, I saw that on somebody's album, I ain't about to listen to that junk. First, you lost me by the title as is. So, I mean, I feel like people make it a big deal. It's really not a big deal. And this is somebody who has seen people with platforms versus people with no platform. I'm right on both sides. It's not a big deal. The only people who make it a big deal is people who ain't got nothing to do with their time. So, yeah.
And then what's your writing process? How do you have to like lock yourself in a room and have no distractions, or do you get in the studio and listen to a beat and then get inspired to write? How do you generally go about writing?
Look, I'm in the studio right now. All right, right now. Like, nobody's in here. My wife is downstairs. She's having her women's group. Okay, it's just me. That's how I like it. No, I'm kidding. Like, I like to invite people to studio sessions and whatnot, man. Whenever chance to, but a lot of times, man, like in my production process, I like to be alone. because I don't have a particular workflow or strategy when I'm producing. So I'm just like, give me the freedom, the creativity to do whatever I'm about to do. I don't need no distractions. So sometimes I might like myself in the studio, and unless my wife is like screaming for my help, I'm like, hey, don't bother me. I'm in here working. But yeah, man. I mean, my recording process is me coming up with ideas, wacky stuff I have never heard of before. Try to come up with something that I ain't never done before, and I just keep doing it. It's like it changes every time. So you have to be here to see what it's like. So.
And then back in 2009, you came out with your first mixtape, The Great Investment. Did you ever think that mixtape would end up leading to where you are today?
Nope. Nope. I actually thought. I didn't think it would do anything, to be honest. When I made it, it wasn't even made to be online. It was just made to encourage everybody that I was kicking it with in Memphis. It's like, man, I made some music. I want to encourage y'all. Check it out. Here it is. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, shut up. Wait, but I just wanted to encourage the people, man, and yeah, I didn't upload it like that. Like I think I put it on my Facebook or whatever, and whoever was my friend on Facebook, they would be the ones who got my music, and somehow Rapzilla got it, and somebody was like, "Yo, did you know your mixtape was like #1 on Rapzilla right now?" It's like, no, somebody stole my mixtape and put it on a website. I was like, yeah, but that's a good thing, right? I was like, yeah, it is a good thing. And the next thing I know, like people asking me, was like, "Yo, you're Canon?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I am." Yeah, but I, if anybody thought they could not make a living off music, it was me. So I didn't have any like idea to make it in music by putting out that mixtape. I was just doing something that I love to do, and I just wanted to encourage people in my city. So.
What were you planning to do if hip hop wasn't the original plan for you? What were you thinking about doing at that time?
I was gonna sell drugs, man. I was gonna sell weed, coke. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, man. I loved working with kids. At the time, I was working with some kids in a dormitory program where we housed 10 to 12 kids in one dormitory, which would be the all boys section, and then we would do the same with all girls, and there'll be a woman section that would house them. I was always working with kids. I was into mentoring and teaching and like shepherding and leading kids. I worked at a camp in Memphis, Tennessee for about 3.5 years. Before then, I worked at a summer school program working with kids. When I got to Atlanta, I worked with kids at a psychiatric hospital. So I love working with the youth because they're willing to listen. That they're still being molded at that time. Their minds are being made up at that time. And I'll probably be working with kids somewhere, and if not that, and I don't know. The Lord could have me doing anything. Maybe working at a church. That's the only other thing I could think of is maybe working somewhere at a church, doing audio engineering and production or something like that. But that's about it.
In your song "Say Yeah" off of the Loose Cannon Volume 1 EP, you talked a lot about lust and insecurity and people struggling with that. Do you have any advice for anyone who's struggling with something right now?
Yeah. One thing is there's a difference between struggling and fighting and then being and getting defeated. And there's another difference between like you're not fighting. I would say one. I would reevaluate if you're really fighting lust. Some brothers they struggle with lust, but some brothers they say they're fighting, but they're not really fighting. They're just giving in. and then they feel bad about it in the end. That's not fighting. Like, that's giving in and being guilty and feeling guilty. Fighting is saying, like, fighting is creating a defense. And though like you're fighting and giving punches and not, you might get hit. Fighting is a two-way street. It's offensive and defensive. So when you fight, make sure you're really fighting. And fighting could look like accountability. You need to have that. Fighting may look like having brothers and sisters that know about your mess. Having that. Fighting may look like saying, hey, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning and you got the urge to look at something you ain't got no business watching. Fighting could look like calling a brother saying, hey, this is what I want to do right now, and this is what I want to watch right now. And I know I shouldn't, but I want to, and I'm seconds away from clicking on this link. Can you help me? Can you stay on the phone with me until I fall asleep? Can you stay on the phone with me and convince me not to do this? That's fighting. Mm-hmm. Fighting ain't just, all right, well, nobody's here. I'm going to do what I do when nobody's here. That's not fighting. So I would want to reevaluate, are you fighting or are you just giving in? And then two, community and accountability. Have brothers in your life. Have people, women, brothers, guys, girls, elders, leaders, youth leaders, moms, dads, friends. Have people in your life that know, that can help you. People that you can trust. And three, last but not least, know that you're not the only one struggling with it. Brothers like to hide it because they think they're the only ones dealing with it. In reality, probably every guy in that room is dealing with it. Dealing with stress, dealing with lust, or pornography, or masturbation. Like, more than likely, like 50 to 80% may be dealing with it in that room with you. And they're in the same boat. They don't know who to talk to about it. They're embarrassed. They feel like their identity is in their works, so they feel like they failed. But, a lot of times, man, nobody gets help until they're vulnerable, until they say, hey, this is where I'm at, and I need help, okay? I don't know if y'all got the same issue, but this is where I'm at. This is where I need help. Don't make fun of me for this, but this is where I'm at, and I'm going to drown in my sin unless you help me. If you love me, you're going to help me. If you don't love me, you're just going to laugh at me. But if you love me, you're going to help me and pray with me and be there with me and walk with me through this. So, yeah, get as vulnerable as you can when you're struggling. Vulnerability is the only thing that's going to save you at the end of the day. So,
I know this is a big question, but if you could just briefly kind of give a testimony, like how did you meet Jesus? What did you grow up in the church? Did you meet her later on in life? What was that process like?
Yeah, so let me give you the short version because that is a very long story. But I'll give you the compressed version, or the condensed rather. Yeah, grew up with both parents in the church. Family grew up in the church. My grandfather was pastor. Cousins, aunts, uncles, you name it, they all sang in the choir. We all went to church. All right, we grew up in the church. But I didn't necessarily know Jesus. I just knew the church. I knew church culture. I knew what to do. I knew when to pray. I knew what songs to sing. I knew when to raise your hands. I know when to bow your head. I knew all of that, but I didn't know Jesus. So it kind of felt like it's like that guy who played basketball, or kind of tried to play basketball, and he didn't know basketball, but he knew everything to wear. He knew to put on the gym shoes. He knew to put on the headgear. He knew the sweatsuit and the gym shorts and the socks and everything. He knew all of that, but he didn't know nothing about the game. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't play no game. That's how I was. And because of that, I was very ignorant in church. I was very ignorant. I played church and did the little church culture thing that you do in church, and then when you're done with church, you do your own thing. And that's what I did until I ended up going to another church, and I saw people that lived lives authentically and unashamed of the gospel for Jesus outside of church and in church, and that really changed my life when I saw that. Brothers began to pull me in. They began to teach me more about Jesus. Next thing you know, gradually, man, I just began to have a respect for Jesus and not just the culture. And that's what a lot of things is I began to change. I began to change how I talked. I began to change how I viewed the gospel, how I viewed people, how I viewed myself. I didn't see myself as deserving of anything. I saw myself as like deserving nothing and in need of some kind of like grace. And seeing that the Lord provided that grace when I didn't deserve it began to have me grow more and more in love with Jesus. So it was gradual for me. It wasn't just this burning bush ceremony with like, ding, the light is on. It was like, yo, I'm beginning to love Jesus. Like, one thing I learned, and I even continue to learn, even as I talk about my testimony, is people ask like, how did you come to know the Lord? How do you grow and having a relationship with the Lord? And it's a relationship. You're not best friends with somebody the moment you meet them. You spend a little bit of time here and a little bit of time there, and just because you spent bits of time with people doesn't necessarily mean that you guys are friends. Doesn't necessarily mean you're in a relationship with them. It's like, even with a woman, like when I met my wife, like it took time after time after time after time after time before we were actually in a relationship. And then it was like, all right, hey, we're gonna do this. This is it. And and even that's kind of cloudy on how you go about your relationship with the Lord, because it's like, all right, how do you know this is when you actually what day you got saved? Or how do you know what's the moment you got saved? How do you know it's not the day after or the day before? And for me, I don't know. I just know that gradually I began to know the Lord, and I began to love Him more than I loved myself. And my life began to change, and everything I did changed. So my life is different.
Yeah.
A date for you.